Hello everybody, welcome back to Wolfeei Extras. Today we will be talking about the state of Minecraft events in 2025, which usually when the title is as such, it's a negative video. I don't think this is going to be one. It's just, I was thinking about this yesterday after my stream because we were talking a little bit about just event stuff. You know, things have been going pretty well, I would say, for at least October and a little bit around that time as well. Whether you watch MCC or a smaller event or blockwars, etc., right? I feel like it's been pretty good. I just wanted to really quickly think about, or more so reflect on how things are going now, considering there were some rough predictions made at the end of 2024, and considering we're mostly through October at this point, and with November and December, of course, yet to be seen. I don't think we're going to see that much crazy stuff going on. Maybe we will. I don't think it's going to mainly change the consensus of how things are going, but I think at this current moment we can do a bit of a status report on Minecraft events. And of course, as I am Wolfeei Mogomel and organizer of blockwars, I feel like I am going to be one of the main people, I guess, for this. So let's get into this whole story. First, like mentioned, there were some predictions made. I made a video about like which events do I think are going to come back in MCC and how is the schedule for MCC going to look. I made videos about like, hey, what's blockwars maybe going to do in 2025, etc. And people had their thoughts, etc. And I was talking about potential future of Pandoras Box and how things may go. Of course, these are the big three events, which is usually the main attention point for for event conversation, at least on the YouTube front, but usually on Twitter and Reddit, etc. as well. So let's very briefly go over this, right? So predictions wise, I guess we'll just go to this tab. In terms of MCC, we looked at the end of season 4 and saw that, of course, the change of approach was positive. I think from an actual event hosting standpoint, MCC has been making a bit of a comeback, you could say, in a way where they're hosting more impactful events, more interesting events, more memorable events to an extent as well, that just have more going on, right? Every event has its own identity a bit more than it did previously. Of course, in Season 3, they just kind of hosted events every 3 to 4 weeks, which lost its identity a little bit at some point, also had some players fizzle out over time, and nowadays I feel like there's a lot more interest in MCC. We see a lot of people returning to MCC, whether it is as a guest appearance or maybe even as a somewhat frequent appearance, right? Even if I just look at this Lunar Party screenshot, of course not everyone here is an MCC player, but like someone who stands out here for me is like Tina has been playing a bit more event stuff recently, right? Which is very exciting. I'm fairly sure this is Rendog, of course. Rendog just returned to MCC pretty much this year, right? As far as I recall, at the start of the year, Rendog was in, or somewhere around. It was either this year or last year, at least Season 4, Season 5 era, the Rendog return. And Pearl as well has been a bit more active. It's very fun. See if we catch any specifics here. I mean, even so, like, we'll just have a lot more of the active people. Toby at some point said he was gonna not really be in MCC as much, and that's completely flipped. So that's of course notable. And yeah, no, all across, like, it's just things have been looking pretty bright, I think, for MCC, which is good. Very much different to what we expected though, because I think the predictions were that things would change. But I also think that prediction was made from the perspective of just Reddit, which does not reflect on the MCC audience as a whole. A lot of people were thinking like, oh, well, obviously we've expressed that we want an extra normal event or two, and the Nox, we're gonna fix that. It's not an issue. It's just that some people want to see it. Like if they have other plans, if they have more special events they want to do, then let them do the special events. And even so, they kind of listened. The first event of Season 5 this year, although it was in like May or April or whatever, was a normal event, like a regular standard whatever event. They do, what's it called? They did Rivals, they did Pride, and then the Lego event was, as much as it was not advertised as a regular MCC, it was experienced as a pretty regular MCC, just with a fun partnership, right? And even then, we have likely November and December left, and there's a very good chance that we see another regular event in there, or if we don't, it's totally fine. We just had a regular event. I feel like the Rivals events have become a bit more, incorporated into the regular experience for MCC. I feel like people have gotten used to them being around. Still very much appreciated that Rivals is a thing, the Twitch Rivals in-person events, of course, but it's not something super crazy anymore. And we even saw MCC do a little fun side event, right? A little invitational-esque event with the German content creator scene called Magenta Eat Trophy, which was pretty fun, right? So yeah, MCC been doing pretty well, honestly. I think they're doing a lot of things quite nicely. Of course, there are things I personally would love to see them do, and I'm sure the audience has the same opinion. Very different opinions, of course, right? Even with this most recent event, the Copper Crown, which went super well, I think, overall. There were criticisms. Some people had issues with the length of breaks, and I also saw on Twitter when I was just randomly scrolling, some people were saying that they think Meltdown's the worst game of all time, which is polar opposite to my opinion. I think Meltdown's one of the best Minecraft event games of all time. Of course, it has its downsides sometimes, but you can see there's still a divide, but I think overall things are going quite well. So that's the MCC front. We'll see what they do for the remainder of this year. Probably going to end up having, what would that be? 7 regular events? 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then probably 2 more. This Magenta Eat Trophy doesn't really count, but we'll get to this type of event back soon because now it's time for Block Wars, right? This year for Block Wars has been very interesting. I don't think you can call this year for Block Wars like a major success compared to last year. I feel like 2024, a lot of things that we did went quite well. I just feel like we've been holding on to that momentum. Like we've been keeping up with the progression of Block Wars. I feel like we haven't declined at all, but we haven't like majorly improved stuff either. I think from the gameplay side of things, I think a lot of things are much nicer than they were before. I just think from the like overall event reception perspective, I feel like a lot of things are steadily improving, but not drastically. I also don't think that MCC is like drastically improved between Season 5 and Season 4. I just feel like Season 4 people were still a bit mixed about like how they felt about MCC stuff because it was a drastic change from Season 3 to Season 4, of course. I feel like Season 5 people have kind of mellowed out a little bit more and people are kind of chill with it now. So that's the thought on that. I'm gonna lower this Mario 3D World music real quick. So yeah, Block Wars. I looked back on some of the stuff like here and etc. And one of the main feedback points was the frequency of Block Wars events, right? At the end of 2024, there was were already some talks about like, oh, Block Wars might be happening too often. And unfortunately, in the beginning of this year, we did kind of host a lot of Block Wars events. There was a lot going on. You won't really see it much here, of course, but we had a lot of invitational events and other type of events like that. So, you know, we did I think, if I remember correctly, we did like a back-to-back Tubathon, like Block Wars. And like, yeah, of course, we still had like one event every month, around the same time every month for the first 5 months of the year, which was quickly followed after already having an event every month, right after, or for a few events when we came back from Series 3. So we were on a streak. There was no like real stopping for Block Wars, so there was a lot of events being hosted, etc. And like mentioned, invitationals as well. I'm not going to be able to mention all of them, but there were a lot of them, right? If I remember correctly, I don't even know if this was this year, but I think it was. There was the Bablu one. I'm fairly sure Lagundo's invitational was either end of last year or early this year, which was technically the first invitational event, which then led into the Bablu one. And then we had Taba's thing again. It led into like the Lifesteal one, which I have here as well. The Lifesteal one was a pretty big one. And then, of course, most recently was the Feinberg one. There was also the German one, of course. We did a Spanish event at some point this year as well, I'm fairly sure. There's a lot of Block Wars, right? And then also Origins, of course, which followed for like pretty much every event, if not just every event, from at least these first few, right? So there's a lot of Block Wars. So that was something to note. That was one of the main concerns. But I think with this tail end of the year, I feel like the frequency of Block Wars has neutralized a little bit more. There's still a lot, but we took a little bit of a break around the summertime, right? We didn't host an event in June or in July, and that did kind of affect the event scene a little bit. I've been kind of, taken a step back in terms of events ever so slightly. My life was just fully about Minecraft events for a little while. It's not just fully about Minecraft events anymore, at least on a day-to-day basis, but frequently still. But a lot of people experienced a major drought. Whether mostly in July, it was like a big one, and even in August a little bit. It was a pretty significant like drought in terms of event content. July was really the biggest tough event or tough month for everybody. Although I'm fairly sure the lifesteal event was in July. I don't remember. I think so. Either way, there the frequency of blockwars slowed down a little bit, and I think that was good. I feel like we've given ourselves a little bit more of an opportunity to essentially pump the brakes and then step on the gas a little bit harder, because I feel like one thing that happened with blockwars, at least when events were being hosted so frequently, was that of course new changes aren't fresh for that much time, right? They're not fresh for very long, and I think that isn't good. Like it's not great, and I feel like we've been able to add more freshness to Block Wars ever so slightly over the past few events, and I think we're going to continue to do so with the upcoming few ones as well. So yeah, I think Block Wars overall, I would say, is in a pretty positive state. I feel like, of course, we also have been able to expand the roster ever so slightly here and there with some fun additions, and just, again, invitationals happening are cool little moments as well, right? So I think things are overall looking pretty nice. I would say that, yeah, the situation we're dealing with Block Wars right now is pretty solid. We'll see how the end of the year goes, of course, and yeah, excited to see what's coming up on that front. Those are the main positives, I think, for this event, for the event scene right now. Now on to, not negatives entirely, but mostly like other things to talk about. So PB, right, at the start of this year, announced that they would be taking a hiatus until later this year, which meant that, you know, they were going on break for a while, and that eventually, in July, turned into... let's see, I don't remember. Yeah, there's a break, and the break's just longer. we still don't really know when the official return of PB is going to be, but they essentially are taking a much longer official break than they initially intended. However, on the bright side, as of recent, there have been invitationals, which I think is one of the main points. If I end up making an event recap for 2025 at the end of the year, which I probably will, because I assume I will be doing daily December at least, invitationals are a big progress point for Minecraft events this year. They have opened up they've made events somewhat more accessible to an extent, right? It's no longer just full gatekeeping by just being friends with the event organizers or being invited on a whim by an event organizer. If you are willing to, you know, put in the funds, you can essentially buy an event. You see it here. Some people collaborated together to buy a PB, and they are participating in a PB all together and made their own teams, etc. And there's also just people who individually bought a PB. You have this person here. There was a recent one as well, with the roster as follows, and I think that's good. It allows for events to be played by some community members, and I think overall, for PB at least, it's a very nice way to also help them maybe get back on their 2 feet to continue working on the official return to Pandora's Box, because that is still the overall goal, of course, is for Pandora's Box to be able to host events officially again, because these are invitationals, they are not official PB events, I assume at least. So, that is the situation with PB as of yet. Still on break, technically, no official event coming soon, but there are invitationals, and that's good. This is not what we predicted was going to happen with PB this year. We kind of thought after Dragon Pit, PB was going to essentially skyrocket, but early on in the year, like mentioned, things kind of came to a stop, which is okay. It's just not what we thought was going to happen, of course. Either way, next up is Minecraft Mayhem. We haven't heard anything. That's it. End of 2024, I think Mayhem already went on break. I don't remember. I think so. Nothing has changed. Whether they ever come back is a question. It says Minecraft Mayhem returns quote unquote ... soon, but whether that is to be believed, we'll have to wait and see. If Mayhem does end up returning either this year or sometime next year, it'll be interesting to see how they do, because I feel like the event scene has developed and evolved quite a lot over time. Speaking of, Biome Battle, also currently on break. Biome Battle was around end of 2024 already. It was like a fresh new event at the time, right? And 2025, they were doing quite a lot of stuff. They had a lot of fun stuff in terms of events. You know, it is a good event. It's a well-produced event. But of course, they were making slow progress throughout the events to work towards like improving stuff, of course, right? And now they've been taking a break for the past... I checked, I think it's almost 4 months. Now, BitSquid has been teasing some stuff over on Twitter, of course, a little bit. So, there's this supply drop thing, etc. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Biome Battle returns either this year or next year. I think it's going to come back with an absolute bang, considering how long of a break they've been taking. So that should be interesting. We just don't really know exactly what's up on that front. Again, not what was predicted at the start of the year, but it is how things are going right now. So that's the recap of 2024 predictions or events that were mostly talked about for 2024, etc. So recap that real quick before we get to the last event. MCC, been going pretty well. Sure, some of the core audience on Reddit, etc. might not fully agree with the way MCC is being handled in terms of hosting events less often, but as an event organizer, I very much understand not hosting events as frequently. It does cost money. There are people that work on it, and it doesn't make money. The only time it makes money is when you do a partnered event with LEGO, a partner event at TwitchCon, or something along those lines. An invitational, right? That's the only time you make money from hosting MCC directly, and you would like to not have to spend a bunch of money and get nothing in return, essentially, because that is the reality of it. So yeah, Block Wars going pretty well. We'll see how things go in 2026. I think 2026 will be a very important year for Block Wars. We'll have to wait and see exactly how things flesh out that year. It's a very early prediction, of course, but I think 2026 is a make or break year for Block Wars, and we'll have to wait and see exactly how things go. Pandoras Box, hard to really pinpoint whether they will make a official return in 2026. I hope so. I think it would be really fun to see them make an event or make another proper PB event happen. From my knowledge, they are doing a very big internal update. Whether that's going to be obvious from the viewer stand or viewer side of things, is a question to be seen. But I think it's promising, right? Invitationals are good. Bring some money to the table. Maybe that money will help them get things going a little bit further. So that's exciting. Minecraft Mayhem, who knows, honestly. I do think if Minecraft Mayhem makes a return frequently, it makes a return and happens frequently, it could be promising, but also I will be honest, I think with how events are going right now, it's a pretty nice pacing, roughly. MCC and Block Wars kind of happen like every 2 or 3 weeks, like combined, right? Either every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so, you'll have either an MCC or a Block Wars. There's a lot of discussion surrounding that. And the other events, of course, are happening as well. I think MCSR Ranked has been a major player as well in events, really. It's not the same format, but that's good, right? It's a different format, but it has been very relevant and something a lot of people do seek out to watch. So that's a very big one as well. Also not one that I think I had mentioned at the end of 2024, but it was around. So we'll see how MCSR Ranked continues as well. And then Biome Battle. We'll see exactly how Biome Battle also ends up playing out, of course. One thing I will mention that it was either an old thing that was mentioned or something that was mentioned recently. I don't remember specifically where it was, but the dynamic of the event scene as well right now is that there used to be a bit more of a discussion of like who's the biggest MCC, Block Wars, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. MCC's number one. It just is. Block Wars is number two. It just is. That's not to be debated anymore. I think season 5 MCC and even season 4 MCC kind of already like confirmed that they were just like back to stick around. So I think that's very promising, of course. And it creates an interesting dynamic. MCC and Block Wars are the main like creator show type of events, right? The events that are like fun in terms of like you see new creators. It's not that sweaty. It's just kind of like entertainment at the forefront, like for fun mostly, right? PB served the role of more competitiveness. I'd even say Mayhem. Mayhem was also pretty competitive. Buy and Battle is kind of a weird middle ground where like roster and like participation wise it was relatively competitive and like preparation wise it was competitive, but the event's design and packaging doesn't feel like it's that competitive. So we'll see how Mayhem and Buy and Battle would fit in back into the event scene if they were to return. And same with PB. Well, we already know where PB is. But speaking of, PB served that third, like the third big Minecraft event slot as the competitive event. MCC being the hybrid, Block Wars being the low comp. Generally, it's a semi-hybrid, but it's generally the low comp. Unless you include Origins, then it's also a hybrid. But there wasn't really a standout competitive Minecraft event with creators at the forefront. That was PB. Now, that might be Chamber Trials. Chamber Trials has been, making its debut 2025 pretty much. I think it was around beforehand. I don't really know. But it's been much more prominent and relevant, of course, as of recent. And it's going to be interesting to see how Chamber Trials fits further into the event scene the more it's developed and the more it gains popularity and notoriety over either the next few events, because they're doing one in October, of course, coming up soon, literally happening on the 26th, so it's in a few days. And maybe they'll do one in December, probably, if I had to guess. The main thing to look at is going to be next year. I've been talking to Chaos a little bit, and it's going to be interesting to see how the event develops in 2026, because I think it's also going to be a make or break year, similar to what I said with Block Wars. But Chamber Trials, debatably, as of right now, with PB's absence as an official creator event, Chamber Trials kind of feels like it is filling that third event slot. There's a significant standout top two. PB was already kind of trailing in third, but there used to be a pretty significant gap, I feel like, between PB and the ones below. Now I feel like Chamber Trials is going for third. I think Buy and Battle was kind of going for it, honestly, at some point earlier this year, because CT wasn't really around as much, but now it is CT at the third big 3 event slot, pretty much, right? Especially also on the YouTube front, because it is competitive. A lot of the YouTube audience really likes competitive Minecraft, and I think that is to be found in CT. So yeah, that's the state of the event scene in 2025. I probably forgot something. This is just off the cuff. Just a thing I was thinking about and just wanted to talk about it real quick, because I think things are looking pretty solid across the board. Here's the thumbnail. Things are looking pretty solid across the board. I just wanted to briefly talk about it, because I feel like usually when stuff like this is talked about, it's a critical thing or a negative, and I feel positive about stuff. I feel like things are going pretty well. Perfect? No, but pretty well. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you later. Goodbye.